What's up, brand builders? Stephen Horahan here at BrandMasterAcademy.com, and in this video you're going to learn how much to charge for brand strategy so you can speak to your prospects with conviction so they'll feel comfortable with your offer. Now, when I began to sell strategy for the first time, I was a little bit lost because I didn't know what to charge, and I started off by just adding the strategic services to the logo designs that I was providing without charging anything. And then I tried to just raise my prices for my logos and my design services without itemizing the strategy within it. And that didn't work either because my clients didn't know what they were paying the extra money for, and they were comparing me as a logo designer to other logo designers. But over time, I learned the processes, I learned the work involved and what it took to build brand strategies and what I needed to do in order to build them, and I became more comfortable with the process and therefore more comfortable with what I was able to charge and how I could go about charging for those services. Now, there are different schools of thought when it comes to pricing creative and pricing for brand strategy, but it's important to understand your options here because at the end of the day, it's you that's going to have to talk to your prospects about what you're charging for these services, and if you don't have an element of confidence and conviction about what you're charging or why you're charging that amount, then they're going to see through that. If you don't have that confidence and if you don't have that conviction, no matter how valuable your service is, your prospect will see through that. They'll feel that insecurity, they'll feel that you don't have that conviction, and they'll be gone, as I said, no matter how valuable your services are. So I want to cover the two most common approaches when it comes to pricing brand strategy so that you can understand which is the best fit for you so you can start to apply that to your own services. Number one is the value-based approach. Now, Blair Ennis, who wrote Pricing Creativity, and Christo from the Future are very much advocates of this approach. Now, this approach involves you talking to the client about their overarching goals for the work that you're doing for them and try to ascertain a dollar value for those goals. So, for example, if the work that you're producing for them, if they want that to eventually help them to make sales up to $300,000, well then that would be the figure that you would work with. Now, they're not advocating here that you go and charge $300,000 because that aligns with their goals, but charging a small percentage based on the value amount that they want to achieve is seen as the right approach. So this could be anywhere from 10% to 20%. So in this case, $30,000 to $60,000 for your work. Now, the logic behind this approach is that you are paid proportionately for what your work achieves. So if your work helps to achieve that $300,000 figure of those sales, well then you should be paid proportionately for that work. But it also means that you charge different companies different amounts for the same work. So you would charge a Fortune 500 company a lot more than you would charge a small startup, but the work would essentially be the same. So some people do have a problem with that. They are uncomfortable with that. And some people don't have the skills to have those kinds of conversations because you need to have a high level of conversation here. You need to be able to push your prospect on assigning a dollar value to the goals that they've set in place and the goals that they've set in place for the work that you're going to do for them. So it really requires you to have that level of conversation if you are going to take this approach. Approach number two is the cost profit based approach. Now, essentially what you're doing here is you're working out the cost of the work to your business. So you're identifying if there is a designer needed, a developer needed, a strategist needed, a copywriter needed. Now, in the case of you being a strategist and possibly you being a freelance strategist, then you might be doing all or the majority of this work, but you still need to be able to separate out the individual roles and assign a value to this. So a good exercise in order for you to be able to work out what you should charge in this case is identify what work needs to be done first and foremost. So if there's a strategy involved, if there is logo or brand identity design involved, if there's a website involved, if there's development involved, and then work out the individual cost of those services to your business. So go out and see if you can find somebody in the marketplace who will give you a price for each of those roles. Now, this can just be an exercise that you do, and you can put together a brief that you go out and you speak to other designers. You might need to work out, am I happy with a junior designer, a midway designer? Do I need a senior designer in this role? And go out and get those costs. And the same with a developer. Do I need an experienced developer for this role? Do I need an experienced copywriter and an experienced brand strategist? And go out and get all of those costs and then bring that back in and price the project up based on the cost to the business of all of those individual skills and skill sets. And then you'll know what it costs you. From that point, you need to work out what kind of profit you want your business to make. Because hypothetically, if you were to charge out the cost of those services to your business as the price to your client, well then you would not be in business. You would not be a functioning, profitable business. You would be a charity. So you need to work out, first of all, the cost to your business and then the profit that you want your business to make on top of that. Because as I said, even if you are doing this work and charging out what you would expect to be paid in the marketplace for those individual roles, as a business, you would just be charging out that cost. So once you know the cost to your business of these individual roles, you then need to work out what kind of profit you are expecting to make for your business. So for argument's sake, this could be 30%. So you would work out the individual roles required in order to deliver what your client expects, cost that up, and then add your 30% profit on top of that. Now, there are other approaches to pricing strategy than these two, but these are two of the most common. You can use a hybrid of the two where you have some set costs and some variable costs, but for the most part, these are the two main approaches. So what you need to do now is to work out what approach is right for you. If you're watching this video, which is how much do I charge for brand strategy, then chances are you are relatively new and you're searching for the right approach for you. So first and foremost, you need to become very familiar with the process of what you're doing for your client. With the services that you're offering, you need to know it inside out, the work it takes, how long it's going to take, the different roles involved depending on the deliverables. And once you have that, you'll be a lot more comfortable coming up with first an approach that works for you and then defining a price for the individual projects. But I would like to hear from you as to what your approach is to pricing strategy. Have you priced strategy already? Are you developing strategies for your client? And are you using one of these two approaches, or do you have a different approach to these two? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you've got any challenges when it comes to charging for brand strategy, please let me know in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer all of those questions. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell as well. It'll let you know when I've got new videos. But if you want more exclusive tips and techniques like this, well then head on over to BrandBuildr.ai and sign up for the newsletter. It is free and I will drop those tips and techniques right into your inbox. But as I said, please let me know in the comments below if you have any challenges with your approach to pricing your brand strategy. Until next time, brand like a master, and I will see you in the next video.